breakdowns.
Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We are on episode 68. Yeah, 68. And we know we took a little break, but it's fine. I'm glad. We're excited. We got a good one for you coming back. Today we have Gabby Minton, not Minton or Milton. All right, get it right. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. No, not too bad. Not too shabby. Trying to get back in the rhythm of this and getting used to it again. But you've been actually pretty busy with podcasts and stuff like that. You've been getting invites left and right. How's that been?
It's been really fun.
Yeah.
I spent like a good probably 2 months towards the end of last year just blindly messaging and emailing everybody in Fort Worth, like, hey, can I come on your show? Can I come play a gig?
Yeah.
And they started all getting back to me at the same time. And then it's just been kind of like snowballing since then. So I've been very busy.
Yeah.
It's really, really fun though.
Which is good. Yeah. Being busy is kind of fun, you know,
Yeah.
especially like when you're seeking it out and like finding all these opportunities and stuff. Cause I feel like I started seeing, I think the first like mention of your name wasn't that long ago that I saw was you played at the new coffee shop, the Revive Coffee Shop. You did a gig there.
That was really fun.
And I was like, wait, like and then after that, literally like your name was just flooding like everywhere. I was like, who is this Gabby? I was literally like, who is Gabby? Yeah. And saw you were like playing a few gigs and stuff like that. And obviously I got an opportunity to see you do the ROT swap like with us.
Oh, that was amazing.
Which was super fun. Which was cool because I kind of got not only like the performance part of like your music, but I got a little insight into like kind of what your music's about. But first of all, how long have you been playing?
So I've been playing my guitar and my violin since about 12.
Okay.
And my dad's a musician as well. He's a drummer.
Oh.
So me and my brother grew up around music and like in bars in Deep Ellum, watching him play his shows and stuff. So it's always just kind of been a part of our lives. But I got into orchestra when I was 12, and that's what kind of started it.
Yeah.
And then the guitar was like a cool side thing. I had an electric at that point.
Oh, okay.
I was learning like Green Day and stuff.
Nice.
I thought it was super cool. And then somewhere I switched to acoustic. I don't think I started songwriting till I was about 18.
Okay.
I played a couple of gigs around Dallas in 2015, and then I took a long hiatus because I had kids.
Okay.
My kids paused everything completely. And then I picked it back up maybe 2021.
Okay. So just more recently started like getting back into it and playing. So at 18 is like you said, it was roughly when you started like songwriting. Was there something specific that like triggered like you wanting to start writing songs, or was it just like a natural flow into things?
Well, I would journal a lot, lots of journal, you know, like the teenage heartbreak and all of that.
Yeah.
But I think the big transition was probably my parents' divorce. Yeah, very big traumatic life event for my whole family kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it led to a lot of very interesting journal entries that in return ended up into songs and stuff.
Yeah.
But it really just that whole process of writing it down and then later looking at it and being like, wait a minute, that could be a song. That's kind of when that started.
Yeah, journaling is honestly like people don't utilize it. It's kind of it's a very good way to pull like raw emotions out of like for music. Like maybe certain lines will make it in like verbatim, but most of the time it just captures that raw like energy that you were feeling
exactly.
there. And it helps let go. Like for me, when I started journaling, I don't journal like every day or anything like that, but it's like when it's strong enough, like I make sure I have it like at the ready, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll start writing, and it's just kind of like a flow of consciousness kind of thing. And when I'm ready, I go back and read it because I don't like reading it right away or whatever. Because I'm I just let it out on the page. Like I'll revisit this later. But that's a really cool technique to use to again pull those like natural raw feelings, like exactly like what was going through my head. Because I found like the more I dwell on like an emotion, the more I rationalize my way around it. Like, oh, okay, I shouldn't be this angry about something.
You end up like accidentally justifying it.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm like, if I just capture it, even if my anger was wrong, it's still like really strong. So at least for like music purposes, it's like, oh, okay, I get that this might not be the exact way that I should be feeling, but it lays it out on the page. I can write a song later if I need to. But for the most part, I did process through it. It's out of my system, but I can use it later.
Yeah, I'm really big on like, there's no, even if like the situation isn't great, there's no wrong feelings. Like,
Yeah.
no matter how you feel, it's correct because it's the way you feel. And I try to tell my kids that all the time. Oh my gosh, they have emotions like me. So I have to tell them, walk through it. Like we're writing things down, talking about how we feel all the time. It's so important.
It is really, I mean, that's a big responsibility for you, like now having kids to be, to
It's crazy.
teach them like how to like, okay, like how do I like, you know, I feel like you would want to like try to help them process the things like, oh, the way I didn't know how to process it. But
we didn't really get, I'm assuming we're around the same age, a 90s baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really get much emotional guidance in the 90s. It was more like, stop crying.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, get up, you'll be fine. But it's like, there's so much more than that. I'm really glad that it's like an open conversation now.
Yeah. And I always liked, I talked to, because I was a single parent household, so my mom was the one going through it. So most of what she knew was just like survive. So it's like, okay, so that's what I learned. It's like how to make it through. Like, you know, if you're feeling bad, like you just have to get through the day anyways. Like you still have to show up and do whatever. So you
especially
go a
being
long
a
time.
mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like regardless, you have to like still be like, hey kids.
Yeah.
It's a great day. How are you?
I've talked about this once before, but it's weird that one moment when I realized like, oh, like my mom's just a person, like a regular ass person, you know what I mean, who feels the same shit that I feel, you know? And it completely like changes perspective. And then that's how I like see everything now. And now it's like, oh, every one of these people, whoever's like lashing out at me is like, there's a reason for this. Like, I don't justify it, but every time like there's that second pause of stuff instead of just like reacting.
Yeah, it's like what are they feeling? When it's very obvious they're mad, but it's like, why?
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard in moments and to take that step back. But I feel like it's important. But you definitely do tackle like some really powerful issues and problems like in your songwriting. Is that you were saying about journaling, but does that help in the process of like processing that event of like what happened? Like for example, I know one of your songs, which I think is the one for that you had the music video done on, it deals with like a lot, like you said, domestic violence is what I remember you talking about in the Rot Swap. Does that help you just put like that thought out, or it kind of helps you process through that event?
A little bit of both. Yeah, I feel like just kind of like, it sounds messed up, but kind of like when you have to give a police statement.
Yeah.
And like,
okay.
like you go from like the beginning all the way to the end, like exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And just kind of play it all out. It is kind of like a coping mechanism almost.
Okay.
Yeah, therapy works as well. It's very important, but being able to just like walk through it. And then the thing with those is like, there's that song specifically. I've had so many people reach out and been like, this is a specific situation that I've dealt with, and this resonated with me.
Yeah.
Like, just, you don't know who all goes through stuff with you unless you put it out there and voice it and say, I'm going through this, or I've gone through this before. And it's like, it's helped me kind of connect with people a lot more.
Yeah. I feel like before you put stuff out there like that, it feels like it's only happening to you, because that's what you're like. I feel like brain likes to tell you and be like, this is just happening to you. Like it makes it harder to get through that. And then once you put it out, work with, like I said, therapy, stuff like that, groups or just like communities, and finding that, or music, you find out that tons of people like are going through something similar like you. Like every situation is unique, but you have people that can understand you, which is hard. Normally, it's the hard part where you, at least personally for me, where it was any like thing particular like that event, it would make me feel like nobody else is going to understand this. And it's what you want to like feel, but it's not true. It's just people outside of your circle might not, out in your circle might not, but people outside, like there's somebody out there who will.
Yeah, somebody's sitting there listening to it and being like, okay, so there is other people that go through stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. But sorry, my throat, like allergies have been freaking killing me, so I'm like drinking tea all week.
Yeah, the weather's been horrible.
Yeah, it is absolutely terrible. But you've been playing a lot of gigs lately that I've seen. And actually this weekend you played Mayfest. How was that?
It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was actually a last minute. They reached out because somebody got sick or somebody couldn't show up.
Yeah.
I actually applied a month after the cutoff, so I was like, they're not gonna call me. Like I was like, let me just try, and then they did. I was like, oh my god. It was really fun though. And a couple of my people showed up, but it was mostly like strangers.
Which is
people,
great.
yeah, people were just stopping and sitting down and watching. And that's my favorite thing.
That's
seeing
really
all the
cool.
new faces.
Yeah. And it's good to find those opportunities to how to get like new people in front of you or people that don't like, know you. And I mean, Mayfest is a giant event, you know. Like
it was a little intimidating when I first showed up. Yeah, they had me go to this like secret parking location.
Oh my god!
And it was like by these dumpsters, and I was supposed to wait for this shuttle, and this man, showed up in a black SUV, and he said, "You trying to get to the stage?" And I was like.
Yeah. Wait, said it like that? What the fuck?
That's literally what he did. And then I was like, yeah.
Shady smug.
And he was like, you need a ride? And immediately I was like, no, I'm going to wait for the shuttle. And then he was like, I'm a sound man. He was like, are you coming or not? Because the shuttle was like taking forever.
Yeah.
I'd been out there for like 30 minutes at that point. And he said he was going to the other stage. And I was like, maybe I should get in his car. And then I did get in his car. Luckily, he took me to the stage, but I was like, this is how people get kidnapped.
You trying to go to the
It was
stage.
scary at first.
I don't know if I would have gone.
Yeah, and I'm used to a little bit smaller places.
Yeah.
So it was a little scary, but it was really fun.
Do they have like multiple stages there, or was it just like
yeah, there was like 3 or 4 stages. There was a Ferris wheel. It seemed like the State Fair of Texas, only at Trinity Park a little bit smaller.
Interesting.
But yeah, even for a Thursday at 3:45, there was so many people there.
Yeah, because that just calls like so many people like to.
Yeah,
to
I
just
was
go out,
very
yeah.
impressed at the turnout for the daytime in the middle of the week.
It's like, where all these people have? What do these people do? They have free time.
Right on their schedule.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you've been playing a lot. Is that like a goal of yours, or you're trying to just play as much and get out there as much? Or?
Yeah, that's one of my things. My main thing right now is I just started an EP yesterday. I got back in the studio
did see you
yesterday.
in the studio, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of my main focuses, and then also the gigs too. Just kind of keep putting my face in front of everybody, being like I'm here, kind of becoming a familiar face.
Gotcha. So you're starting to write an EP. How do you go about writing this one as opposed to like the last one? Because the last one, I'm assuming, is like a collection you've been working on songs for like a little bit, or are you starting to write this? And then this one, is it the same thing, or are you starting to write it like now?
It's like a little bit of both.
Okay.
So my album was, those songs range, like some of them were the very first songs I ever wrote.
Yeah.
And then some I finished like a week before we started recording.
Oh, wow.
One I finished while we were recording. We completely changed it in the studio. And this one is kind of, I still have some from like 5-6 years ago that I'm trying to get out. And then a couple of them are going to be new too.
Okay.
One of them specifically is about our wonderful governor, Greg Abbott.
Ah.
Yeah, and gun violence and abortion bans.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's going to be really fun.
That's going to
I'll be spamming that everywhere. But yeah, it's
even before it's released, I'm sure you already have
new.
the support on that.
Yeah, no, I'm actually part of this wonderful group. It's called, it always startles people at first because it's called MAGA.
Okay.
But it's Mothers Against Greg Abbott.
Mothers Against Greg
Yeah,
Abbott.
it's a group. Right. It's close to 100,000 people now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's literally mothers that hate Greg Abbott.
Yeah.
And a lot of supporters too. It's not just mothers, but yeah, I just put like a little snippet and I was like, guys, guess what I'm doing? And they're immediately like, okay, let me know when it's ready.
So that's something like outside that out of your music that you're like, passionate about. How do you feel about putting in like, again, being able to be vocal about stuff like that into your music? Like, how important do you think that is?
I think it's very important. I'm very vocal, and I don't like to use the word loud because I'm not necessarily a loud person, but like, just be very vocal and loud about your opinions, regardless. Like, just that topic specifically. I have a lot of people like, don't do that. Like, you're going to marginalize yourself. You're going to like lose a lot of people that don't believe in that. But it's like, that's literally what music is for, to like get your thoughts and opinions and feelings out into the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just see it like I know at least 60,000 people that will be like, hey, I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't care about the people that don't like it specifically. If anything, it might enrage people a little bit and have them listen to it.
You hear about it so much.
Yeah.
Actually, I think from you posting about it, I heard about the thing yesterday. What was it, yesterday, right?
Yeah, just yesterday, somebody walked into the outlets in Allen and murdered a bunch of people.
Yeah.
They just fucking got out of the car and started spraying children and families.
Fucking
for no reason.
Absolutely insane.
But for some reason, they're concerned about my ovaries and what I do. That's my body. It's really weird.
It's so
weird.
And
it's dystopian.
I hate using the word weird like all the time, but it's like, because I don't understand like that thinking, I'm always like, I don't understand how you can be so just hard-headed and strong about something that you should have no business in. Like it's so weird.
Yeah.
And I don't understand like some decisions, and I never like super get into politics on sides and stuff, except for like just issues that are like, okay, like the abortion thing that happened here was just so fucking crazy. I never in my life would have thought that like something like that would happen. After
honestly,
years
me
about
neither.
whatever, and it's just like caught me like off guard. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like it felt like we just went back in time. Like
we literally did.
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
Like, at least like 50, 60 years. I'm like, am I gonna be able to vote next year? Like, is that the
Shit,
next
you know?
thing? Like, are you gonna make me quit my job? What's next?
Yeah, it's just really wild and crazy. And,
yeah, it's completely insane.
But I like that you're using, the platform you're creating for yourself to be vocal about like issues like that can concern you and concern others. And again, it's that whole thing where people want to create that community, that people want to know that other people are being vocal. Like some people don't know how, some people are too scared, so they like.
Yeah, it's scary at first.
It's
scary. Even with Don't Make a Sound, I was like kind of hesitant to put it out at first, just because it's such a touchy subject.
Yeah.
But it's the second I did, I was so glad I did.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of the part where I was like, okay, you can talk about stuff like this and you can put it out and you don't just get completely shunned by people.
Which is, it's odd. It's not the first time I've heard that type of thinking towards like, especially with Don't Make It Sound Like the topic domestic violence, with people thinking like, oh, if I'm vocal about this, people will like shun me and like not want to talk to me or not want to like believe me, things like that. And it's awful that that's the reaction that people have when they're victims. Like when you're a victim and you still are like, oh, I don't want to do this because it's gonna, like, people aren't gonna like me after this.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of scared to ruffle feathers.
Yeah.
And I'm, I still have my moments where I'm like, let's keep the peace. Mm-hmm. But there's just certain points where you're like, I got to get this out there. Yeah,
which again, I think that's the idea. It's like it shouldn't be just about let's cause as much fighting as we can. It's about, okay, I'm going to be vocal about the things that I feel strong about, that, I want to make sure that I get my side expressed and like how this affects me and the people around me.
And it's never too late. I wrote Don't Make a Sound when I was 17 years old. And I didn't even put it out till this year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just sitting in my journal for years until I was ready to be like, okay, let's get this out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never too late, though.
Yeah, I think the good thing is that there's a lot more, it feels like there's a lot more community around being supportive about things like that. So people who come out with things like that want to make sure that like they have a support system normally, for the most part, like out in the world, more readily available, I think.
Oh yeah, it gives me hope for my kids growing up and stuff. Even though stuff is still insane, I'm like, they'll be able to easily find support systems if they need them.
And hopefully, you have the tools that you've learned, and you can give those to your kids so that they're able to process life and understand it a little better, and hopefully be that support system for them. You know what I mean? Like where they can come to you, because I know that's super important.
Yeah.
With kids. But yeah. So the new EP. What kind of stuff topics are you working for that one?
So this one is going to be a little different than my album. So my album was just me, my guitar, a xylophone. It was very like bare bones acoustic, besides one or two songs. Mm-hmm. I think we played with like a loop a little bit of drums and bass here and there. Mm-hmm. But this one, it's starting to look like it's going to be like a completely produced like album-esque EP.
Okay. Dope.
Yeah, we're kind of constructing the songs different. Because with my other stuff, I just sit down with my guitar and me and we build around that. Mm-hmm. But like the one we started yesterday, we were building around the bass line.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I would drop the lyrics in from there, maybe some harmonies. Like it's a different process for sure, but I'm really excited about it. But yeah, it's kind of... some of them are an extension of the same topics from my album. Mm-hmm. It's mostly, again, just like pulling from my journal. Like there was a period of time last year where I actually had 3 friends die within a 2-month period.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's one of the songs is about that.
Yeah.
Greg Abbott. Yeah, and just like, journal entries. Some of it is about a large life transition I had a couple of years ago, just becoming a single mom.
Yeah.
And just having to deal with stuff like that. Once again, very emotional stuff, but it's going to sound a lot different than my album.
Yeah. So since it's being a little bit more produced, you're working with a producer now.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually Rich from Sad People's Donuts.
Okay.
He's also an amazing artist too. If you look up Rich Erie, he has
Erie.
all sorts of stuff. I think it's like over 60 hours of music on Spotify.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I might have over exaggerated, but it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, over 60 hours. You heard it here first.
No, yeah, if you go to my Spotify, one of my featured songs is called Legends from the Tanner Household. And I'm playing violin on one of Rich's songs.
Oh, that's
so yeah, it's an easy way to like kind of get to his stuff through mine. But he's going to be producing the album, playing the drums, the bass. We have our friend Diego. He's going to be playing the keyboard. He's like a trained pianist.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I pulled out a baby synthesizer yesterday.
A baby synthesizer?
Yeah, I haven't used it yet, and so I'm really excited.
Okay, so how is that process now? Since, I mean, obviously the first one was a lot more stripped down, and now going to a produced out, is it most of your ideas? Are you letting like your producer write with you, like Richie write with you? Or is it mostly like, hey, help me develop the idea that's in here?
I'm kind of giving him the reins on this one. It's all my lyrics, all of my songs. Like the lyrics are completely penned out right now, but the melodies, I have melodies and stuff. Like I sent him rough acoustics. Like these are the songs, and I'm really just letting him kind of figure out what he wants them to sound like as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
I'm assuming you guys have like known each other for a while now.
Oh yeah, we've known each other since I met Rich when I was probably maybe 18 years old, 18 or 19. He would throw these house parties in and around Dallas, I believe somewhere in Denton, but really cool stuff. Yeah, just super indie. Like some of it's math rock. I don't know if you're familiar with math rock.
I love math rock.
Super weird, but it's fascinating. Yeah, it's all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, we've known each other for a long time. So we already like have like personalities that mesh very well.
Yeah.
So it just felt really natural working together.
I was going to say, because that's one of the biggest things when working with a producer that you're letting kind of write on your stuff or write with you, is that level of trust that you need to have with them. Because it's like, hey, this is my music. Like it's going to come out. With me, I want to make sure that like the idea that I have actually gets put through and I don't have to compromise as much. Although it's good to have someone like a different opinion there because they're going to, push you to get the best music out there that you can. Especially someone that you have known for a while because you already know that like your personalities kind of like mesh together, that your musical taste, that they understand the background of music that you're coming from and be like, oh, okay, I can see them wanting to do this because this is the kind of stuff they listen to, or this is the kind of stuff that they like.
I can
right
tell
now.
him like, I want this weird sound here,
Yeah.
and I could literally just make some weird sound with my mouth, and he makes it happen. He's like, okay, it's right there. Is that it? And somehow it's just translated perfectly.
I feel like that's just musician talk. Like if you're a musician most of the time, like I loved when I was in a band. Like, communicating like drum parts. He's like, oh, it's like this, and and then it would just be everybody trying to like mimic drum parts. Everyone's just like, you know what I'm talking about? Like
that was literally us yesterday.
And it works,
Or like the bass, I was like, oh, this part should be like bing bong boom, and he was like, okay, we got this.
I got it. As a sign of like a good chemistry and a good like actual producers that I had this guy on here. He goes by Holder, but he's like a producer and musician. And I was talking to him because I was like, oh, like how do you do that? Because you work with so many people. And he's like, well, like if I know them, it's a little easier, like because I know kind of what it is. But if not, it's just getting to know and making sure I make the song that they want to make. It's not like I add as much as I can. But my question was like, as a producer, isn't it really easy to just put yourself into a song and like put what you want into it. He's like, yeah, that's the hard part. You're gonna have to take yourself out of it and understand,
you have
like,
to
who's in the
detach
room.
a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could do that, because I've had that. Like I talk about this a lot, but I've sat into like sessions with other people, and not to do anything, just to like hang out. And in my head, I'm writing the song. I'm like, how would I write this? And I would like write it this way. Like, this is where my melody would go. And then I hear them record, and it's completely different. And I'm like, that is so cool. Like, my brain is never going to go there. Yeah. Which is nice about making friends in the music scene, and like having more people come around you. And again, working with a producer who's going to show you and be like, hey, maybe give you an outside idea that you're like, oh, like I wouldn't have tried that, but I'm glad that I did, kind of movement. And I feel like that's the important thing to have if you're working with like producers, is being just open to hearing those ideas. But it sounds like you are, you know what I mean? You came in like wanting
being
to
very
do that.
flexible. Like, it's almost like a brainstorming session.
Yeah. Do you think that once this EP is done, since this one's going to be more produced, that you maybe will develop like a full band kind of thing to perform all of these?
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
I always think about that because all my shows I do acoustic right now. It's just me, my foot tambourine.
Which is great. That foot
thank
tambourine.
you.
I remember looking when I was like up there, like I had my phone, I was recording, and I looked, I'm like, wait, is that a tambourine? Because like, I was wondering where it was coming from. Yeah.
I heard the cameraman go, oh, sweet. Yeah. I love my foot tambourine.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that's definitely something I want to kind of tap into after a certain point. I would really like to have a little background band, maybe even some background singers for my harmonies. Ooh. Yeah, because so many of my songs have harmonies. Yeah. And I feel like they're like a key component to like how the songs sound. Yeah. But it's impossible to do by myself. Well, there's a pedal. This actually, an artist from the area, Lorena Lee. She's so cute. She does ukulele. Well, she plays guitar, but it's mostly ukulele. Okay. But she was showing me this pedal she has, and it like harmonizes with you. Yeah. And I thought that was fascinating. I'm starting to like dip into not completely acoustic things. Oh, okay. Like I just got a guitar that plugs in. And my sound man made fun of me because I call it my plug-in guitar. And he's like, that's not what they're called. I'm
that's
so
what
used
I call
to
it.
like completely acoustic. Yeah. So I really want to start dabbling with stuff like that.
That'd be cool.
Maybe get like a loop thing up there.
I was literally about to say loop pedals seem to be like really like fun to...
Oh yeah, that seems fascinating.
It seems fascinating. I see them like people perform with them, and I'm like, that is so cool.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a goal to kind of like upgrade my live performances a little bit throughout the next year or two. Hopefully build up to like a full backing band. That'd be really awesome to hear like those. Yeah, I think that would be exciting. Like write some of the older ones as full band stuff would be really cool to hear. Yeah, that would be cute. Yeah. But that's cool. I think that seems like a natural progression with what you're going, like even with this new EP, which you just started recording yesterday. Right? Yeah, that's cool. You were mentioning that your dad was a drummer, right? Okay. So you grew up kind of with music. Were they encouraging you to like pick up an instrument, or that just like naturally was like, I want to play something? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't anything that was ever forced on us. Like if we wanted to do something else, my dad wasn't like, you're playing guitar. Yeah. But I'll have to find this picture. It's so cute. Me and my brother can't be more than like 3 or 4, and I'm on the drums and he's on the guitar. Oh. And it's so cute. And then there's like pictures from we did the talent show in 7th grade. Oh, really? And we played War Pigs by Black Sabbath. Oh my god. And I was on the bass. Like it was really intense. It was super fun. But yeah, it's always kind of been a thing. We've always been fat. I remember the first time like trying to perform in front of people, I was probably 4 or 5. Wow. Okay. Yeah, and I was like, everybody stop and look at me, and I'm going to sing for you. Yeah. And they were like, okay. Like, all right, well, pay attention. Yeah. That's good. Do you think that that's something that you would encourage, like your own kids, like with music, with everything that's up for you? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to like feel out, because they're 4 and 6 right now. Okay. So they're starting to really get their personalities and their little quirks and their likes. And one of them really likes to sing and dance and perform. But the other one, not so much. He's kind of like, get the camera away from me. But then they'll act a lot. Yeah. They really like acting. Interesting. Yeah, we'll make I have like hours of video on my phone of them just like running around pretending to fight. But yeah, anything they want to do, I try to encourage them. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with my stuff or music or anything.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the appropriate response. Like, oh, like encourage what they like want to do and like push through a little bit of their doubts and things like that. Because like, yeah, you that's one thing that like growing up, like my mom never understood what I was doing, but she was like supportive, like because I was one of the kids that like was trying everything. I was like, let me see what sticks. So like I was like music, sports, all of it. It's like I want to do all of like I think like karate and stuff that I would do.
I was on the golf team briefly.
Yeah. I was like, let's try it all, you know. And music was the one that stuck like for a little bit, and it was kind of a weird transition because I started playing guitar in like my elementary school age, and then I was like in a church choir for like a little bit, and then I didn't like guitar then, and then I went to middle school, and that's where they had a class, and then I loved guitar, and then I learned how to play. I thought I was joining mariachi, and I didn't. I joined classical guitar, so I learned like how to play classical music on guitar, which was cool. Like, you know, it was really fun.
Classical guitar.
Oh,
the nylon strings is.
Yes.
I'm like a die-hard nylon string person.
I was so used to that. I every time I picked up like a steel string acoustic, and I'm like, I don't get this. Like, but it was, you know, they were for different purposes.
My plug-in guitar. It's acoustic.
Your plug-in.
And my calluses. Oh my God, it's been killing my hand. I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
But every day I'm like, I think I'm just gonna modify it so I could put nylon strings on it.
And they make them. I mean, because I used to. It developed into like we started a flamenco group, like me and my friends.
I like that.
So I bought a specific guitar for it, which had a cutoff and plugged in, but it was nylon. You know, all of it was nylon.
Yeah, that's the next thing on my list for sure.
But it was, it's a weird like development, and like I said, and then it went from that to like joining a metal band just because I wanted to sing.
Nice.
Literally, I wasn't even into metal at the time. I was just like this band will let me sing, so I will do that. And I didn't know how to scream or anything like that. Like, so it was terrible at the beginning.
That's
but
funny.
I ended up loving it. Like, and ended up getting better. And I remember like my mom was my just most honest critic, and just like, hey, I'm gonna tell you, like, it's not that good, but you like doing it, so keep doing it.
Oh.
She wasn't wrong though. This is the thing.
That's what moms do.
She was being honest. She's like, I'm just telling you, you keep doing it, keep getting better.
No,
but,
yeah,
like,
I showed my mom my first single, and this was already after. So this is it's like we used one microphone, guitar. My dad was on a snare with some brushes.
Oh, in the same room?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like a very like personal, intimate sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed my mom, and I feel like she just did this because my dad was playing the drums.
Oh.
But she was like, why are the drums so loud? I was like, you could say congratulations. It was like my first single I'd put out ever in the world. She was like, the drums. That's what they do, though.
There's a little emotion behind that, all right?
Right? I was like, that sounds personal.
That sounds personal.
Moms are very harsh critics, though.
Yeah,
but in the most loving way.
Exactly. I think you need that, like encouragement, and then also honesty. You know what I mean? You don't want a bunch of just like, yeah, it's all great. I mean, like, no, you can get there. Work harder, and it makes it like it's just encouraging, like having that type of community around. But with that community, I think it like one of the people you've met was Lewis. So like Fostepka, which helped shoot the first music video. Not the first music video. Was that your first music video?
That was my first music
video.
video.
Where's that place at? That place looks cool.
It's gone forever. It's
what?
not a place anymore.
What is it?
So
okay.
So I went to Faux. And,
Sorry, it's so dramatic. It's gone forever.
It is.
You'll never see it again.
You'll never see it in another video ever. But I went to him because we had recorded the song mid last year. I think we finally finished it in October. And so we actually put it out before we made the video. But it was my birthday present to me. I usually get a tattoo every year.
Yeah.
And then I just kept thinking, I want to do a music video. Like I could see it in like a creepy old house. And so I took my sweet tattoo lady. I canceled like a couple of days before I was supposed to go. I was like, I'm so sorry. But I took all that money and gave it to Faux and told him I need an abandoned house.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where we're going to find it, and he was like, I got you. And not even within like 2 days, he was like, how about this? And it was like, this guy, he's real sweet. His name's escaping me, but he let us use the house in his backyard.
Okay.
And it's not in Northside. It's in Rock Island. That was a very big deal. I misrepresented it first.
Is that a big deal? Oh my God.
Yeah, I posted it and I tagged Northside, and they got on there real quick and was like, that is not Northside.
Oh, no.
I was like, I'm sorry.
Write that down before I make that mistake.
Rock Island. But it was in his backyard, and it was just like kind of a broken down shed.
Yeah.
And we put some plywood down and a chair. And that's where we got the first part of the video. But then there was this like abandoned house thing next to it.
Yeah.
It looked like at some point, maybe it was like what they call like a mother-in-law's house. Like a kind of like a guest house in the backyard,
gotcha.
but it was completely decrepit. Like we almost didn't go inside. It looked like it was going to break. But yeah, he just let us use it. And Fo crawled inside to inspect first. I appreciate him for that. We had to crawl through this window. But yeah, he told us that the city was coming to tear it down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it wasn't safe. And so I think officially like a week or two ago, they demolished the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're actually the only people that recorded there.
That's super, because I was looking at it and like in the video I was like, oh, this looks like a set. Like I thought it was like a set place because of like you know how like the opening where like you were performing and like the side of the house. I'm like, oh, I think this is like done on purpose.
Yeah, they just set that up to make it look like well, a lot of it already looked like that, but he liked the lighting and just the angle. That was all him. He was the only person recording.
That looked really cool. Like that's what I thought. I was like, oh, is this like a place that people set up? Like because of how like half was open to like
it worked out perfect.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
And all that stuff in the video, that's not ours. And the owner doesn't know whose it is either. Like the weird kids' toys and like that lamb thing. It was just all already in that house.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was super creepy.
It fit like the song and everything just like perfect. That's why I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah,
I was literally wondering, I was like, where is
T.
that? Because I was like, I'm about to see that house like everywhere. I know, like on videos and stuff.
Nowhere
That's
else.
so cool.
And that's another one too that I told him, like, we were going through back and forth with the editing on the video, and I was like, I want wispies. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, wispies. And then he did it. I meant like the old, like, like old video.
Is it where like it feels
crackly
like
kind? That's what I meant, but I had no clue how to say it.
I
just gave him the word wispies, and he came back perfect.
Yeah, I feel like that video definitely like fit exactly like what the song called for, which is really cool. Like it was really cool when it just
Thank you.
feels natural. So yeah, definitely good job.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I definitely want to do some more videos. That was fun.
Right? It's an interesting medium to be like go from your words and your song and like actually put like visuals things to it.
Getting in front of the camera was scary for me.
Really?
Yeah, because I tend to with the glasses. When I take pictures, like I inadvertently hide my face sometimes.
Okay.
Like I just like whenever you can't see my face much. So just having like nothing on my face and looking directly into the camera, I was like, this is a little terrifying.
Yeah.
But after doing it once, I was like, okay, this is a doable thing.
Yeah.
Like I can do this more.
Yeah.
And the podcasts help a lot too.
Which like I say, you've been doing a lot. I know it's weird for some people. The old setup I used to have was a little bit. I felt like people focus on the camera a lot because it was two couches. So it was one couch like on one wall, one couch over here, and the camera was straight pointing at you. So you would be looking at me, but the camera's here, so you can see it. And like I'm like, oh, and I feel like people would focus a lot on the camera and know that it's there. And I'm like, I need to set it up to where it's just people talking. So that's why I'm like, oh, they're over there. Like there's cameras over there somewhere, but like the only eyesight is like whoever you're talking to. So
yeah,
it
you'd
makes
have
it feel
to really
a little bit easier. Be like, oh, unless you're plugging something. My
That's
album
true.
out now, which you can at any moment.
Go listen to my album.
Yeah, it's available on all streaming platforms. But in songs, so you've done like violin collabs. Is that just the one that you've done, or have you like worked with like your violin?
Oh yeah, I love doing features.
Yeah.
If anybody wants a feature, I'm always down. It's a scaling price range. I don't really have like a set price. I work with all budgets.
Don't ever set a price that way you can always modify it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I worked with a couple of various ones here and there. I know I did some guitar for 357 and Tavo the Trill. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard the song. I'm not sure if it's out or not yet, but I did. So Bert at 357, he's my sound man for most of my gigs.
Okay.
And so I'll go in a lot and like practice, or like we'll be playing a lot around each other. And occasionally he'll just be like, hey, that sounds good. And we'll start recording and he'll be like, oh, this will be good for that person. And then with Fo too, I hope I'm saying his name right. Lord Tarxian? There's an X in his name, so I don't know how to say it right. But I did some guitar on his song too.
Okay.
It's called Speak My Language. I think it's only on SoundCloud. It might be on Spotify now. But it's really nice. It's a very sad song. Yeah, it's like a sad melody. But those two, I worked with an artist out of, I want to say Plano or the Dallas area. His name is Lil Leo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did some background harmonies on his.
Okay.
I don't even think I did any violin. It was just my voice. But yeah, that's fascinating to me.
So that's really cool. So it looks like you're just really open, like, to working with, like, a bunch of people.
Yeah, I really like, even if it's like, I'm talking with an artist from the area about stepping into some R&B stuff at the end of the year too. Ooh. Yeah, just like, you know, the lady that sings in the chorus.
Yeah. The lady that sings in the chorus. That's going to be me.
Yeah. I've always thought stuff like that is so fascinating. And like, if you do it right, that could be like a whole side gig too. It's like passive income kind of.
So that's what I had one of my friends on here, his artist name is Monty, but he was talking about how to make music like his entire basically his entire work, his entire job. And he's like, so I do my performance stuff. And he's like, he was ghostwriting for a few years now for he's like working at a studio and ghostwrites for artists there. He does I think he teaches music as well, but he had like 5 different musical avenues. But he's like, I haven't had a regular job in like 5 years. And he's like, and it's all just been music stuff. And I was
That's
like,
amazing.
That's cool. He's like, for me, like my idea was, I can make music the way I make a living. It's just I have a bunch of avenues to do it from.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of different stuff, and I love doing all these things, and I get to do all of them. You know what I mean? So now, I think right now he's leaning heavier onto his performance stuff. So he's finally debuting, about to do an album and stuff like that, playing this large festival
very
and stuff
cool.
like that. Yeah, so I'm he gets to focus on that, but he has all these avenues that he works through.
Yeah, even huge famous people, they have their perfume lines and their random side gigs, all their features. I feel like it's almost virtually impossible to just have performing music as a main one job.
Yeah.
I feel like all the little avenues make a huge
kind of really
difference.
Rare. Yeah.
Yeah, it is possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
It's definitely possible.
It's very hard though.
Yeah.
I have a day job myself.
Yeah. But it's cool. You just, again, you find different ways to keep doing, what you love. And with music, what do you see that going forward? What's the future for your music that you want to kind of pursue?
Well, I really hope it just keeps going and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That's my plan. Of course, I would love to just have music be my main job.
Yeah.
I love my day job. If my bosses are listening, it's great. But it would be fascinating to be able to have a stadium performance or something. That's or opening up for some gigantic band, some ridiculous artist that I'm how am I even here? That would be really fun.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I think it starts everywhere. That's why I love doing this. I love the stuff we do with NoiseROT with shows. I'm I see so many artists, and I'm just there's so much talent just in the area alone. That's why I thought about it.
It is jaw-dropping how talented the Fort Worth area is, and
really?
it's so underappreciated.
Yeah, that's
from the terms of the rest of Texas. It's so much more than tumbleweeds. It's insane.
Yeah, so we've that's actually why DJ, and then when we started NoiseROT, we did the festival Chill Sounds and Breakdowns.
I'm excited for that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, so just to be there's all, because it's all local. All the artists are local. Are the vendors and stuff is local. Just because that businesses, there's a bunch of local business around here. People pursuing stuff, and then just talent. I'm music. I'm just I'm fascinated of the variety of it, and then how much there is that it's people writing locally from here.
And all the different genres are so supportive of when I first came out here. I didn't move to the Fort Worth area. Well, I moved to Crowley in 2020.
Okay.
Very early 2020, right before COVID. But I started getting out and about in 2021. And all of the artists, I felt like I was fangirling. I was let me chill, because these are just my friends. But I was how is everybody so talented?
So good, yeah.
Yeah, and they all show up for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Which is nice, and I think the idea of mixed bills too. I've loved that, because I started seeing out genres that maybe I wouldn't go see. I was getting exposed to because they were on I was going to see this artist, but like then they had a different type of artist. I'm like, that's fucking cool too. So then I started looking at it, and then you start realizing that that's the way people listen to music anyways. Like they listen to a wide variety of stuff.
Yeah,
for the
and
most
it's
part.
very rare somebody has one genre of music and only listens to that.
Yeah,
nothing else.
Yeah, everybody. I feel like everybody has the opinion. It's like, oh, like I go from this to this range, and I'm like, yeah, like my brain works like that. Like I want to hear one song.
Yeah, like I want to see a hip hop artist, and then some indie folk, and then a mariachi band. Like it's like just seeing all the different ranges that the community has to offer.
I saw a mariachi band at an emo night one time. Play
nice.
Emo covers. And it was
I have
cool.
my patio sets, my 3-hour ones. Yeah. I have to add in the covers because that's a lot of
that's
stuff.
That's a long time.
I don't have 3 hours of music, but I do a lot of emo covers. Yeah. I've added Dashboard Confessional in there.
Nice.
I'm toying with some acoustic My Chemical Romance songs. Ooh. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
Emo girl at heart.
At heart. So what's like your musical like taste background? Like what was, I know you mentioned Bob Marley, I think at the Rod Swap, where you were talking.
It's so many different people.
Yeah.
It's like for the longest time, I would tell people like if Bob Dylan and Amy Winehouse had a child.
That's what it was. I wrote down wrong.
And then the Mountain Goats are a huge influence on my music. They're so good. They're another one that's like very emotional, acute. Like those bands that like it sounds like they're singing like shit, but it's supposed to sound like that. Okay. That's the Mountain Goats.
Okay.
Like they're just like sad, emotional acoustic music.
Okay.
And Kimya Dawson and the Moldy Peaches. Yeah, nice indie acoustic stuff out of the Pacific Northwest. She was the one that did a lot of stuff on the Juno soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so stuff like that. I've been really into Crumb lately.
Crumb?
Yeah, Crumb, and I really like Wet Leg. All sorts of different.
You're introducing, which
yes,
I love.
Please go listen to all of them. Yeah, those are lots of influences that I pull from, especially with the stuff we're working on now.
Yeah.
Like I want it to sound kind of weird. But yeah, anything emotional and very in detail with their songwriting. Just anybody who kind of just puts themselves out there completely. I draw to that.
Okay. Which is, I mean, I think that's a strong like skill to have, is being and just being able to write something that seems a little out there and weird and things like that. Again,
yeah, like sometimes you say something and people are like, "What?" But that's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
I love saying things and people are like, "Why?" It's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked."
I'm glad you asked. Like, find out. But I mean, it happens. I think that's how like I've introduced myself into like a bunch of like music that at first I was like, this is weird. I'm like, let me listen to it. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that I stop, instead of being like, that's weird, dismiss it. It's like, that's weird, let me sit through it. Let me see what happens.
Yeah, like that's weird. Let me look into this
song.
more.
Yeah, let's sing along. Like I was talking to one of the guys from this band called Golden Week, Mass, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, now when I like find something that I don't like, I sit down and be like, why don't I like this? And it eventually like I lead to like finding out a little bit more about myself, and I find like and being able to listen to like more and more music and just be open, because like getting past that like initial just like your brain's like, oh, this isn't what we're used to. Okay, let me get through it a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I like something new. And then and especially being a musician, it's just more from you to pull from for your influence.
I feel like the first band that did that to me was the Velvet Underground.
The Velvet Underground?
Yeah, a lot of I feel like I pull from them a bunch.
Yeah.
Especially when Nico sings on their songs. She has that like really monotone, like dreary, kind of eerie sound.
Okay.
And I've always, like, the second I heard her, I was like, oh, that's freaking weird. I love that. It's like, I want to sound like that. Like,
I like that. That's freaking weird.
Yeah. I was like, oh, she sounds weird. I love it.
Yeah. I forgot who's, I can't remember which one recently was something like really weird that I was just like, what is this? And I ended up just like loving the crap out of it. But it happens so often now that I like, it's just normal now. So I'm always like, oh, this is weird. Let me hear it out. And like basically the whole trust the process kind of thing. I'm just like, let me give it some time. And most of the time it's just like getting used to like something new and being open to it. Again, like I said, and it just gives you this big pile. It just feels like you're unstoppable when you're able to listen to like whatever and find something like. So now I can listen to pretty much anything and like find at least something that I like out of a song. And being able to again incorporate that in, like it in something else. And again, you don't have to. Music is so subjective. Like it's so like based on your personal, preferences, what you grew up listening, what was around you when certain life events happen, what songs help you get through what. So that's kind of what develops like that taste. And your taste is as unique as like your fingerprint, whatever. Like it's your own personal like experience with music. And that's what I enjoy about listening to artists and listening to like why they write stuff, is because everybody writes it in their own
everybody has a different, even if it's similar, everybody's process is different.
Completely, because you could like, even if let's say we're both big fans of Green Day, the influence that we have from Green Day could be way different because you heard them early on and I started listening to them like from this album.
Yeah,
so
I listened to them the day that this happened.
Yeah, exactly. So then you tie these bands or artists to like events in your life or like just memories. Like, sound like music memories are insane where like...
It really is. I remember me and this boy, I'm going to say a child. Me and this child broke up in 7th grade, like kids. And that day I listened to November Rain by Guns N' Roses and cried my eyes out. It was the first time I ever heard that song. And I was like, why do I hear this today? It's horrible. And I'm 31 years old and I still think about that. Anytime that song comes on, I'm like, oh, it like doesn't affect me anymore. But I'm like, I just remember that forever now.
It just relates. Yeah, it's just really neat how it does that. And it's like certain songs change forever. Like they've like albums you relate to like breakups and like or different like thing where I'm like, oh, this is, and I like there's still like an album. There's an album called For When You're Falling Backwards by Rome Hero Foxes, which is a band out of Houston. And that's, for me, I'm like, that's a fucking great breakup album. And like at the time I was like being all sad and like shit, listening to this like on repeat and be like, oh, okay. And now I'm just like, oh, this is a good breakup album. Like I'm in like a good relationship now. I feel like now it's like, oh, but I can go back and listen to it. It's like, oh, I remember being
when
sad
you can listen to the song again, and not like have that feeling in your stomach. That's the best
like,
to
I'm
me.
like, I'd be damned if like people are gonna ruin my like artists. Like for me, I hate like because I think I had a conversation with like one of my friends one time. He's like, oh, like didn't you guys listen to this band so much? Can you like not listen to it? I was like, no, fuck that. Like I love that band. Like I don't like them anymore, but it's fine. Like
it's not triggering now.
No. I was like, I'd be damned if they're gonna take away my favorite artist. But yeah, like I think just music itself, music as a community like factor is one of the biggest things that I've seen as I've gotten older, is just how much music just draws people together. I used to be like, I would go to a show and be like, oh, like I'm afraid to talk to anybody here. I'm like, why? Like everybody's here for the same thing, like to listen to whoever we're listening to. And then I've made way more friends, like just being like, oh, like, hey, we both like this band, right? Cool.
Yeah, the companionship of meeting people at shows is really fun too.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's really cool. I think those crowds are like the most awesome people. One of the things like I've talked about so much this year is I was always intimidated by like the hardcore community. Like in hardcore music, I'm like, oh, like I'm not a tough guy. Like I'm not gonna like fit into this. And they're the most like fun, accepting people like out there. They're wild. Like their shows are crazy. Like I saw a show at I saw Ballista play at Andy's in Denton, and there were kids climbing on like the top like railing and stuff like that, and just like losing their minds, but like super nice. Like I was walking up and talking to like a bunch of people. I'm like, okay, like you just have to like be accepting of like music, and like you're fine like with people.
Yeah.
Like most people are cool. Like,
did you ever? It might be. I don't know if it was just like a other side of the Metroplex thing, but did you ever go to third string shows?
Yeah.
Third string shows were such a big, pivotal part of my teenage years.
Really?
That I completely forget about sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like they would have all these shows at the Plano Center with like all of the bands. Like it was so cool.
Yeah,
it was
so
the
they still
coolest
do
thing.
So What, but yeah, it was at the time it was
before
South by
So
So
What.
What. Yeah.
Yeah, they
time
would.
It was like the different, because I remember going to the Plano Center
our
one
parents.
time.
It would be like a Wednesday night. We'd be like, please, Mom. And she'd have to drop us off at the Plano Center and pick us up at like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I ended up there once. Like one of the So What's I went by myself. I'm just like, I was like, all these bands like in one place, and it was at the Plano Center.
I got hit in the head with a water bottle there one time, and it knocked me out. And strangers picked me up and took me outside, and my friends were there too. But like everybody immediately was like, "Let's make sure this person's okay."
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was like, "Okay, these strangers are so nice."
Yeah.
Like it was just all the music brought everybody together, and everybody was so sweet.
I got punched in the face for the first time.
I was gonna say, now that I'm remembering, I think there was actually a lot of fights that variously broke out.
Yeah, some kid was like, I guess I was like new to moshing, but this kid was like kind of targeting me for some reason, and it was just like donkey kicking me. And he kicked my like shin like once, and then he came back and did it again, and then the third time, all I did was he kicked me, and then like I shoved him back. So I just which is what they do when you get near the edge of the pit. I just like pushed him back over there. I'm like, hey, like I'm right here. And he got mad. He went around. I was looking at the show, so he comes around, and like from this way, I'm just like looking straight forward, and he like sucker punched me. So I just get punched in the face, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So like I come back, and I'm like about to swing back. I don't know where it is, but this like group of people just to grab me, like, no, it's fine, like don't do it. And I'm like, what the hell? Like I'm gonna kick this dude's ass.
I used to get my ass whooped in mosh pits. I thought I could hang with the guys.
Oh,
I would go with my brother to stuff, to like Ozfest, and he'd be like, let's mosh. And I'd be like, I got this. And I would come out crying. I'd be like, no. I would be so bruised. I'd be like, why did I do this to myself?
I always laugh because my first mosh pit was at a Warped Tour, and it was to the ska band.
R.I.P. Warped Tour.
R.I.P.
Real Big Fish.
Real Big Fish. Yeah.
People moshing.
I felt like it was like a little circle, like push mosh.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And I was like, because I was like, I'm not getting into any like the metal band ones. I'm like, this one seems fun. So I was just like ran around, and I still got like pushed over, and like people like stomping on me and shit. I'm like, fuck, it wasn't safe, but it was fun.
I got in a mosh pit at Metal Fest at Ridgely Theater one time.
Oh, yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, what was I doing in there? Like, that's not where I need to be.
That's what, like, now I'm like, no, I'm okay.
God, my back could never. Now, I would spend $10,000 on hospital bills if I got in a mosh pit anywhere.
Oh, my God. I literally just saw a meme of someone, like, me watching concerts from, like, the balcony seats now instead of going
That's
to the
me.
And I literally, like, I was laughing because it got sent to me. I literally had just bought, like, my first pair of, like, balcony seats for, like, a show in September. And I'm just like, yeah, I really just want to make sure that I see the band like this time and not have to worry about.
Yeah, I've been less excited about like squeezing my way to the front these days.
Yeah.
And like, it's always nice, but I'm like, if I have to be squeezed this close to strangers, I'm like, I don't want to do it.
I usually like have to find just like a comfy spot. I'm fine with people being next to me, but yeah, like not like it used to be. And like, cause I went to a show last year at Trees. It was a band called Idola, but I remember just like standing, and I picked a spot, but I was close to the front. I'm like, I told my friends, like, yeah, we're on the front, and out of nowhere, like a pit forms like right next to me. I was like, it's gonna be fine, and like I just kept getting like clobbered the entire time. And literally, I don't know. I was literally standing next to my two other friends. And nothing happened to them, but me, I was just like fucking getting pulled to where like I ended up like way farther.
They're like, you look like a mosh pit guy.
Yeah, I was like, come here, just get the shit out of here. But I mean, it's still fun, and like it's just really, it depends on what like vibe I guess I'm in or whatever. But yeah, for the most part, I'm just like,
that's some people's therapy. That's some people's coping mechanism. Like me, just run around and punch the air.
That's true. It helps.
Like a release.
As long as you punch air and not people out
right?
in real life.
Not me.
Yeah, don't punch me, please. Just gonna wear no. I feel like if I wore a shirt that said "Don't punch me," I'd get punched more.
I was gonna say they would pull you in and punch you.
it's like, oh, I'm definitely punching that guy. But yeah, shows are just like live music, which is great. Like after, even after 2020 and all like the pandemic shit, like that was insane for like. That just being completely gone out of nowhere. I keep talking about like how I never used to have to like schedule hangouts with certain friends because we would see each other every weekend at some show that we were going to, or like so I would interact with them. And then that happened. I'm like, oh, we don't hang out outside of shows. It's like it's crazy. And now we can't see each other and all these things. And when it came back, which is why like the second Chill Sounds Festival that we did, which was the first one that DJ did like by himself, and it was kind of bigger. It was free because we were just like, you can finally kind of be out like next to each other. I go, let's just have people come out and have fun together again and hang out with each other and realize, that, everybody's still friends and stuff like that. And you come out and hang out. But going forward, we're like, that's what we want to do. Like, that's what that day should be. That's what that festival should be. It should just be like, let's hang out, let's have fun, look at the range of music around you in your community and like different types, and just like enjoy like that community and art in general.
It's my absolute favorite.
Yeah, it's definitely really great. And I feel like you've been putting yourself out there as much, and you've been meeting a lot of people and getting more and like into like the webbing of all that, like, and becoming like a
yeah.
name. So it's really cool. Again, like I said, I've been seeing your name nonstop, which is, I'm like, that's
good.
usually
The
when I know
spam
like,
is working.
you are helping. You are like hustling, but it's always like something new. It's not like this one show. Like, I was like, you have like a ton of stuff coming up. Like I said, and hopping on as much as you can and working the new EP. Like I said, I saw that story yesterday where you were in the studio. So it's really nice to see like an artist be like really active and passionate about what they're
Thank
doing.
you.
So I definitely think that shines through with you. And I really, really appreciate you stopping by again to make time to talk today. But yeah, I mean, do you have anything coming up or anything that you want to kind of plug?
So I got a couple of things coming up. Mm-hmm. I have next Friday I'm at Bearded Lady.
Okay.
I'll be there from 7 to 10. And then the following Friday I'm at Panther Island Brewing, about 6 to 9, something like that. And other than that, yeah, go watch my music video. Mm-hmm. Go listen to my album that's out on all streaming platforms. Yeah, and just make sure to follow me on my social medias, because pretty soon, well, hopefully pretty soon, might be longer, but I'll have some new music out.
Ooh.
I'm definitely going to slip out a single before the full EP release.
Good. Good. I'm glad. I'm sure everybody's thankful and excited for that. But again, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This has been episode 68 with Gabby Minton. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
Sounds and breakdowns. Better lose your man, we should run away.